Our next guest is a New York Times bestselling author and one of America's favorite physicians from the popular television show. I'm getting tongue-tied.
I know.
He's so cute. Okay, fine. He's from the Doctors. He's Dr. Travis. And he's so adorable.
That's all you need to know. But he's also teaming up with Kellogg's to educate everyone about the importance of breakfast.
Yes, he is.
So Dr. Travis, welcome. Okay, we got to fan her a little bit. She's been blushing all morning.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm feeling a little under the weather right now. I'm kidding. Okay, so before we get to cereal, let's talk about how you transitioned from the emergency room to our living rooms. How does that happen?
I'll tell you what, the ER teaches you to deal with anything, and I think I was more afraid initially being in front of the camera than when I learned how to become a doctor and taking care of sick people, because the world of TV, in many ways, it's like the ER. You never know what's going to happen, and so you got to go with the flow. And so, strangely, I was well equipped based on my experiences in the ER. But what I love about TV is learning the power of it. And what you say and do on TV reaches so many people. And being a doctor now on TV, I'm just really proud of what we've been able to do on The Doctors over these last 6 years. Educating, really motivating people, I think, to live their healthiest lives. It's been such a joy for me.
And that's one of the great things I think people love about your show is you have all these various different types of doctors to come on and educate people about the ailments, issues that they may be not know about or be confused about. So what's the most important or most shocking thing that you've ever actually learned?
I learn something every day. And it's, every day there's something new that comes up when it comes to your health. And recently there's all this new data. Well, maybe saturated fat isn't as bad as it used to be. So we get to talk about things like that on our show. So people will ask me, is it good or bad for you?
Is it?
Well, one week it may be bad for you, and the next week maybe it's not so bad for you. So, the jury is still out on things like that. But what we get to do on our show is cover the news as it changes. So it's not necessarily celebrity news, but it's health news.
And everything causes cancer, right? That's what everything we eat these days. It's like,
I say, Shannon, let food be your medicine. Let food be your medicine. So actually, a lot of things you can eat can actually improve your health, improve your life. I always say, if you don't have to take a pill, don't. If you can get your nutrients through food, then do it.
Why do you think medical shows like yours have become so popular over the years?
I think health is the one thing we all have in common. And if you don't have your health, it's hard to be happy. And we've all been ill, and some people struggle with health. No matter what they do everything right, but maybe they're stricken with the diagnosis of cancer, whatever it may be. But without health, it's tough to be happy, and people want to know tools. Good health happens in between doctor's visits, and I think our show, it certainly doesn't supplant going to the doctor, and it shouldn't, but it hopefully makes you a more informed consumer of healthcare, and it helps you make better choices, hopefully.
I think it also helps demystify this whole notion of going to the doctor, because sometimes people are so afraid to go, and then they see that your doctor can be cool and good-looking and informed.
And we're normal people, too.
We're normal,
Hey, if I'm willing to go on TV and talk about constipation, hopefully patients are willing to come into the ER or the office. Point is, we've demystified, hopefully, these embarrassing things that we need to throw out there on the table, so to speak, and I hope that helps.
It has helped.
Yeah, and one of the things you've been talking about lately is cereal and how important it is and how healthy it is. So why did you decide to team up with Kellogg's to do this?
Well, first and foremost, it was getting back to this notion of breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and so many people.
My mom always said that.
And mom knows best. Mom knows best. And a lot of people are skip breakfast because they say they don't have time for it, and there's a lot of studies that show now that breakfast, skipping it, may lead to weight gain, and some studies it's associated with an increased risk of heart disease. So I teamed up with Kellogg's as part of this cereal and milk campaign to get back to basics and say, look, if you don't have time, you're looking for a convenient, affordable option, look, cereal and milk, you can get whole grains and protein to get you energized for the day ahead. The protein can help rebuild any muscle loss that you've had during the overnight fast. And with the whole grains, you can get fiber and have fun with it too. We have all these great additions out here, the berries, you can add shaved nuts, you can do anything you want to make it a fun meal, get your kids involved. And I just think it's one of those things that people tend to skip because they view it as a nuisance rather than a really healthy way to start your day.
And I know some people skip it because they hope that it leads to weight loss by skipping a meal, but you're saying that it could potentially lead to weight gain because sometimes later in the day you overindulge because you're so ravenous.
And everyone's an individual, so I say you can never always say universally this is true, but when you look at the studies, people who skip breakfast in general it can lead to weight gain. And you hit the nail on the head. It's because you're not getting your metabolism going early in the morning. You are more likely to eat later. And a couple of the key elements I mentioned before that you can get in milk or yogurt that you have with your cereal is protein. And what that it helps you feel full. So protein and the fiber you can find in things like All Bran, that really helps you feel full longer so you don't overeat later or snack when you really shouldn't be.
So tell us a little bit more about these cereals and what are some of the benefits we can find in here. You said All Bran, you know, talk about some of the things that are actually in it, the ingredients that are good for us.
Well, I grew up on Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
Okay.
I don't know about the two of you, but I grew up, my mom served that to me almost every single morning. And without knowing it at the time, you know, what bran has is a lot of fiber, and the whole grains in there give you those complex carbohydrates. And so complex carbs, what they do is they give you sort of prolonged fuel, so to speak. And that's important for everything you're doing, whether it's physically being active, you know, using our brains at work or in school. And then with things like All Bran, that's one of my go-to now with berries because of all the fiber. And again, when you start talking about fiber and protein and the complex carbs you can get with the whole grains, you're talking about food that's satisfying, it's simple, and again, getting back to the affordability issue, that's a big thing too for families because, you know, we don't all have our own gardens and things like that, and so looking for quick, easy ways to fix breakfast for the whole family, you know, people are looking for those fixes, and sometimes tried and true cereal and milk's the way to go.
Sometimes you got to take it back to the old school, right?
I love that. So when we're trying to pick out a cereal from the store shelves, what are some of the things we should look for on these ingredient labels? Because a lot of times they're filled with sugar and things we shouldn't be eating.
The biggest thing, again, it's all about individual choice, and I always say you have to find the balance between foods that you're actually going to eat that are also healthy. So I always look for fiber.
Okay.
You know, look at the protein content.
Okay.
Do look at the sugar content and figure out. Just always know what you're putting in your body. I also, like I said, a big fan of making sure that you're getting a lot of whole grains.
Whole grains. Okay.
And zero trans fats, right? Like this one has. That's always.
Yeah,
a good
you
thing,
never
right?
want trans fats.
Right.
Trans fats are the one thing you do not want in your
Yeah.
diet. This whole controversy on whether or not saturated fats are as bad for us as we thought, we're working that one out. But trans fats, if it says, you know, be careful with that for sure.
Yeah.
But again, back to the basics of have fun with it. And kids, I'll tell you the one thing, you'll find kids will eat more veggies, they'll eat more fruit if you let them play a role in it. So, you know, maybe you're the one who's making breakfast or pouring the cereal and the milk, but let your child choose whatever fruit they want to add. Let them take some ownership in that. And not only do they get the health benefits, but they feel empowered. So they feel like they are playing a role and they're having a choice.
You know, Sam Cass, the personal chef for the Obamas, he made a similar point. When they pick their own cauliflower from the garden, they're more inclined to eat it because they feel invested in the process.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes
and
sense.
most kids otherwise, cauliflower, they say absolutely
Right.
not, right?
Right.
Now, if there's anyone that knows about eating cereal, it's a bachelor. And we know that you're not a bachelor anymore, but you were on the 8th season of The Bachelor.
I was.
A lot of people forget that.
Many years ago.
Is that an experience you're trying to forget right now, or how did it
No,
prepare
I
you
don't try
for?
to forget it, but it's just, you know, it's so long ago.
I know nobody remembers that you were actually.
Yeah,
did it actually
And he's like, so why'd you bring it up?
I know, because it's amazing. You know, a great doctor.
I
You
was able to go to Paris. So
Yeah.
How can you complain?
Okay, so did that show prepare you to find your wife now?
You know what? It was a unique experience in life, and I wouldn't change a thing. And it was a great adventure. But in many ways, I feel like my life has just been all these various adventures, whether it's being an ER doctor, certainly going to Paris and being the Bachelor was in many ways the most adventurous thing I've ever done because I didn't know what to expect. But now hosting the doctors, this has brought a whole new chapter to my life because I really do value what I'm able to do, and to go on the show every day, spend an hour and just talk about the thing I'm passionate about, which is health. It's not only fun, it's really fulfilling. I never thought I'd be doing it, but I love it.
But here you are. Okay, so what's next for you?
Wow, that's you know.
So much, I know.
Well, you know what I've learned through all this?
What?
Because 8 years ago, I would have said, you know, I'm an emergency medicine physician. Just find me in the ER. I always tell kids now, follow your dreams, follow your passions, but you want to be careful when you say this is where I'm going to be 10 years from now, because you never know. If you follow your passion, you never know where you're going to end up, but having that passion, you're going to end up in a good place.
Do you ever think you'll end back up in the ER full time?
At this point, full time's tough. I'll tell you that. But it will always be a part of me, and it will always be. And there's a chance, heck, when I'm 70 years old, you know, that might be the only thing I do, because there comes a point in time where, you know, being in front of the cameras and all that other stuff, you just want to go back home, and the ER is home for me.
Aw, nice to have a home you can go back to.
Well,
all right. Look, you can always come to Lola's home here as well. Well, thank you so much.
I'm just saying.
Now that I've made you fully blush, we say thank you so much for being here. And now I'm going to have some cereal.
All right. You
Stay
down
healthy.
that.
There you go.
And thanks.
Very
Come
well
again
done.
anytime.
I will.
All
Thanks for having me.
And you're watching Arise Entertainment 360.